but then here he is trying to fight a giant monster, uh, pretty much unarmed,
Hmm.
but with the power of guts. So I don't know. I kind of hate this main character. The story is kind of neat, but I just like this kind of person. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the plague bringer himself, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. I can neither confirm nor deny whether I've brought any plagues to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Um, but I noticed that this time you introduced us as another Dead Pixel, whereas last time you introduced us as ADP. So really, the question is for you, Joe, like which is it? Are you just gonna flip flop on us like this forever?
Well, I mean, in the end, it comes down to whatever the algorithm wants to pull us up as quickly as possible, and I blame you, the marketing guy. So follow us on Reddit, Blue Sky, Twitter/X, all those things. Just remember, our gentleman here, Nick, is doing all the posts. So thanks.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think I'm not doing all the posts. I'm not doing any posts. So
We have a channel, but unfortunately,
yeah,
someone's never posted. Yeah,
I
so
forgot
there
we
you
have
go.
a channel. Well, you know what? One day after the Patreon gets going, we'll start to post. Maybe we need to do that before the Patreon. I don't know. Um, I'm doing pretty good. I did buy some things during Amazon Prime Day, and I will share one of them with you all here. It's a Arturia Mini Lab 3. Um, it's like I don't know what you'd call it, like a MIDI. It's not like
Keyboard,
Say again.
MIDI keyboard.
It's like a MIDI keyboard. Yeah, I think that's the name for it. But yeah, it was on sale. I had my eye on an Akai, which is a different brand that does the same thing. But then this one popped up, and it had a few more reviews in general, a few more good reviews in general, and it was a little bit pricier. So the discount was deeper. So I was like, okay, I'll just do this one. So I've been playing around with it, and it's pretty cool. I haven't got a chance to really do too much with it. Um, I don't really know how a lot of it works, but it does have a lot of stuff pre-installed on it, a lot of different settings pre-installed. So I'm hoping that I can revamp some of the intro and outro music for ADP, and as well as some other projects that I like to try to play around with. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know the Akai has the beat pads that you can like assign things to and possibly loop through them. So, but yeah, I'm not too familiar with the one you have. But it seems to have a couple knobs and stuff like that, which knobs and faders are always nice. So physical interactions. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what you have planned. So let's all wait with bated breath.
Yeah, I'm not going to subject you to too much because I know what it's like to have somebody come up to me like, "Hey, listen to my song." You're like, "Okay." You're like, "God, this is horrible." Um, so yeah. But anyway, besides that, I bought a bunch of paints and stuff. Um, yeah, all in all,
Going back to
pretty.
modeling,
Say again.
model making, getting back to your model making kits.
No, I don't think I really want to do that. Um, I'm gonna try some different kind of painting, just regular, you know, like like regular canvas painting and stuff like that. The model painting, it was pretty cool for a while, but it was not really my vibe, and it's so expensive. Just every aspect of it is just very very expensive. So anyway, but yeah, yeah. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, doing all right. Picked myself up an old arcade one-up machine. Just the like Street Fighter Championship Edition. Picked it up for pretty cheap, and it only has the three like Street Fighter 2 games, so like Championship Edition, I forget the second one, and then like Turbo. So my kids have been that has been their daily like, hey guys, we're gonna get ready for bed. You gotta like you can go ahead and play on it, but only after you get ready and get your fix in. And then watching like my 3-year-old child do like the spinning back kicks and stuff like that, like natural. And I'm like, wow, you are my ticket to Evo child. And
Oh.
then trying to teach my eldest how to do some other moves and be like, all right, the only thing is they cannot press fast enough to do like the lightning kick or E Honda's, like 100 hand slap. So like, all right, you need faster dexterity to just smash the buttons. But it's
Mm.
really funny, and also watching my son gravitate towards um, the villains. He's like M Bison all the way. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, he's either that or Ryu. Like, he's like, all right, either the lead bad guy or the lead good guy. Okay. Um,
He just values order over chaos. He's like, these are the most ordered characters, so I'm going to take them. So wait, are they playing? You said it's like an arcade.
yeah, it's the one up arcades. You see them at like like the WalMarts and everything like that.
Okay.
So they're not full cabinets. They're like these smaller cabinets. I picked mine up for like a little over $100 something and had the riser with it,
Mm,
which always costs a little more. Came with a couple bar stools, so I'm like perfect for the kids, just the whole package. And they
nice.
threw in some Funko Pops, which I'm like sure. Uh, like, but now I'm going to be going to the extent of probably throwing a Raspberry Pi in there to make it
Mm.
a more full arcade experience. But yeah, it's just kind of fun watching them go at it. And I had a friend come by and visit, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is new." I'm like, "Yeah." And then of course, my kid's like, "I want to play against them." I'm like, like sure. My son actually won legitimately against a full grown adult. And I'm like, button mashing works, but especially if the other person doesn't know 2D fighters. And it's really funny to have seen that. Like
Okay.
an earnest win, not like, oh, you beat me. Oh, no, it's like legit, like, oh, yeah, you actually won. Good for you. I, on the other hand, continue to crush my child because they must earn that win. Yes.
As a Yeah, good. You're just crafting core memories for
I mean, when they finally do defeat me and they throw me into a volcano, they will therefore remember it for all eternity. Uh, but yes, no, it's just once again, it's my kids have good time at it, and then they're every now and then they're like, I want to go against the computer. I'm like, good luck, man,
no, you
and then
don't.
they just completely get swamped. It's just like that's the thing is, if you have these, you're almost better putting the console versions on because then you can adjust the difficulty setting. You
Oh,
can timer, stuff like that, and really tweak it. But when you just have just the default arcade settings, you get brutally beat when if you're not familiar with fighting games. It's kind of funny. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those things that I always wanted to have one in the house. Um, but practicality's sake and also just like the cost, I'm like, yeah, I'm not spending for the nicer ones. Out of box, you're looking at like $400 or $500 depending.
mm,
Uh, and this one was so cheap that I'm like, yeah, I can't really say no to it. And then just for a little bit more, I can upgrade it. And so it was right before Prime Day, so I went ahead and bought myself like the Raspberry Pi and stuff like that. So I'll be looking into that to do the little MAME arcade, cabinet setup pretty soon.
that'll be sweet. Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Yeah, that's what I need to do is then teach them the value of currency, put a coin operation thing in it, and
Dude,
then
yeah, this was the idea. Yeah, so that you can
take
like
money off
have
my
him
debit.
paying his own allowance back to you. I mean, gosh, and then you can like recycle that into like Christmas gifts and stuff. And just be like that. You'll be a slumlord essentially with your own
Go
children.
ask grandma and grandpa for cash, okay, so you can play more of these games, and then just be like, yeah, look at this.
Oh no, man.
No, it's one of those things that it's just like I remember spending, spending my allowance or like earning, doing lawnmower money and then going to the arcade and playing Time Crisis. It's
Yeah,
just like the amount of money I've spent on the Time Crisis franchise as a whole is crazy. And then my kid just gets to go to the arcades now, and then they get a time card where you can, like ADD your way from machine to machine without a second thought of how much you're actually spending on it. I'm like, you just know that you have like a half hour to an hour to play. Like that's nuts. When you like when you're playing certain games, I'm like, oh wow, this game is really rigged to rob you. And then you're like, but I have a time card, so I just get to continue my way, power my way through it. I'm like, that's takes away all the advantage of like I earned this win. But I'm like, then again, this game is cheap as hell. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There's probably something better about it. Probably something worse. Um, yeah. It's. I guess. I mean, every gaming is just cheaper now, like across the board, no matter how you look at it.
I mean, it's a very hard thing to justify in today's day and age, right? Especially when you can emulate things on your phone or just back when Flash was still a thing. You can get those Flash games and stuff like that. Which so I can see why it's hard to make a viable living with an arcade. And we have an arcade in like here in it's south of Chicago area where it's just like it's a really massive arcade. Multiple storefronts big. It started out with one strip center, like just one little store, and they've knocked the walls down to like multiple buildings.
Is
And
that the one that we went to?
that's yeah, the Galloping Ghost.
Yeah, yeah. That
Highly
place is.
recommend that. It's
Yes.
like $20 or something like that
I
for
mean,
like an evening of play.
like this is a compliment, but like it's almost hard to move in there because there's so many arcades, and it's not like a one tiny room, and that makes it hard to move. It's like it's giant. It's just a maze of old arcade cabinets of pretty much anything and everything that you could ever want to play. And then yeah, that took me back to go there and like see like Battletoads and X-Men specifically, to see those games and like actually be able to just play them without having to put in like quarters and stuff like that. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, I have very fond memories of playing the Ninja Turtles arcade game,
On the Turtles too,
and
yeah.
like doing stuff like, oh, like you're dead, and you're like you running to the quarter machine, popping $1 or $5, trying to get your change, and trying to run back before your timer runs out. Yeah, it's anyways. My kids won't have that experience, but at least they'll have a good time playing on the machines. And that's the thing is, I've also I'm upgrading the sticks and everything. Nothing to high grade parts, but from everything I've heard, like the original components are kind of cheap
Yeah.
on these machines. Just so you getting the light up ones are better quality, and I'm like, I'm not getting anything fancy. Like maybe in the future I'll get myself and make myself a really nice custom cabinet with a mini PC or something in there, or like a Mister or something. But when it comes to these things, a Raspberry Pi is just what you need, and my kids can bang on it and break the sticks, and that's fine. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is it's meant to be. I kind of bought this as a cheap little arcade fix for two full grown adults side by side. This is about as close as you were going to want to get to someone to play, because it's
Yeah.
meant for children. It is literally it's meant for a smaller person,
It's meant
and
for
I'm like, all right.
it's meant for children. It's not meant for man children.
I mean, that's why they originally built a riser for it. It's a box you put it on,
Oh,
because
okay, yeah.
the thing was originally only like not even 4 feet tall or something like that. So
Yeah.
with the riser, you only have to hunch over just a little bit. But yeah, once again, it's a fun little project that I get to work on, and hopefully my kids will get more range out of it. But at the same time, then I'm just gonna have to be policing them that much more. I'm like, okay, I might just use this as their like going through the systems, like, okay, you guys, I'll let you have access to certain games at certain times to slowly work them through certain catalogs that I get to curate for them. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, like from that standpoint, I don't know. I don't know. Like from that standpoint, on the one hand, they're gonna have good taste, um, you know, going forward and growing up, but in a way, good taste is kind of a curse, because like if you have good taste, there's a lot of things that you're just like that sucks, and there's a lot of people who, I don't think they have good taste, and they just like enjoy like a lot of stuff, and I'm just like that's you like too many things. You like too many things. Um but also they're blissfully happy, so I don't know. It's probably no wrong way, maybe no right way either.
Yeah, it's what it is, a thing that we're like, okay, guys, you want to play? All right, you guys get to have one. You'll get to do one set. So I'll let them do. first to two sets of three. You know, so they each play 2 out of 3 matches, and then they then let's say after whoever wins 2 sets out of 3, I'm like, all right, there you go. Like, so usually they're pretty tied. They're pretty good, and they also know final round. They now like when one wins, one kid wins one, the other one kid wins another. They're like, all right, final round. Like fight. So
Oh, that's how they get you. That's how they get in under your skin, in your bones, is those chants. Final round.
yeah, it's the I then have to have the discussion with my spouse about when I can show them like Mortal Kombat, right?
Mm,
It's not that compared to nowadays. I mean, like I should just in comparison to today's Mortal Kombat, the other thing is just like pixelated nothing. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah. That was a big deal back then, though. I remember that was it was wild. Seeing like that blood on screen and stuff like that. It's like whoa. Now it's quaint, is what it is.
yeah, I mean, you compare to OG Doom to current Doom, you're like, wow, this is there's no comparison.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, we've been so desensitized to it now. So it's like, well, maybe I should start that desensitization now with my kids. Like, yeah, show them the pixelated, 8-bit blood, and then they work their way up. By the time they see, like, by the time they're in high school, they'll be full on EMTs, being like first responders right there. Like, yeah, what up, you know?
Joe, remember that these podcasts are admissible in court. So,
Yeah, I'm just trying to help them survive in this cruel world we're in. Okay, I mean, things aren't
yeah,
going to get any better. Okay, when
that's
if, if
true.
if if movies have taught me one thing,
We do live in the darkest timeline.
all right. Well, speaking of the darkest timeline, all right, let's go on to this podcast. All right, here we go. What have we been playing, Nick?
We have been playing Demeo, um, but not very well recently. So I can't remember how much we said about this game last time,
We
but
haven't spoken about this game.
we have not at all. I thought we
No,
talked
we
about
skipped
it.
it.
Say again.
Pretty sure we skipped it. Pretty
Okay.
sure we skipped it.
Okay. 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 All right. Well then. Demeo. Yeah. So, do you have a good introduction for Demeo? Because I wasn't really
All
thinking
right.
about that.
So Demeo, in a nutshell, is a like a D&D style board game, and you can play it either flat screen, meaning on a monitor with controller or mouse and keyboard, or you can do in VR like we're doing. So we're currently playing on the PSVR 2, and there's multiple versions of this Demeo. We're playing on the original Demeo. I think there's a PvP one called like Demeo Battles. But essentially,
Right.
you're looking at a grid-based board game where the dungeons are randomly generated, and you go through campaigns. Each campaign has multiple floors, and like the third floor being the boss of said little mini campaign. You have your characters to pick out. So you have your standard um, knight slash paladin. He's your tank. He's the person with the shield. And you have your classic ranger, assassin, like an arena battler. You have your bard. You have a wizard and a warlock. And I believe that's all the characters.
Yeah.
Um, so your hand is the way you play is each character has so many. You have 2 action points, so you can move and attack in the same action if you do a melee attack with someone, or you can use a card, and the cards will either use it will be a free action or they'll use an action point. So once again, you can use up to 2 action points, so you can move and attack, do any combination of in between, and that's the gist of it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're moving your miniature on the board, and it's nice in VR because you can zoom right up in. So they're like one-to-one scale models characters, and they're fully animated when they're doing their attacks. Or you can zoom out, and the in this case, you're in like you're a kid in your mom's basement, looking around, and it's just your tabletop setup. So it's kind of fun that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So there's.
got you into this game a couple weeks ago, on the fact that I knew this would be like kind of right up our alley, both being tabletop fans and you running like D&D campaigns and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So I'll get to some of the D&D kind of stuff in a minute. That like this game is pretty. It's a pretty good game. Um, it's it's pretty fun. There's a bit of a learning curve to get into, like, okay, when I do this, it will do this. So it's a little bit unforgiving in that way, but it still makes sense, and you do have time to like recover and stuff like that. But there's been several sessions where we have, at least me, where I have like thought I was doing one thing and it ended up doing another, because I didn't remember or understand exactly what my move was going to do. Um, there's been plenty of times where I have early on, not so much recently, but there's been times where I have moved without attacking when, and so it kind of like wasted a move or didn't like utilize my move to the full capacity. Um, but like those are things that, after playing a little bit you get the hang of, and you go, oh, okay, so this is how this it works. But and even those things sort of add to the suspense of the game. Like when I sometimes I try not to do this, but sometimes I'll pick up a piece and then I'll be like, oh, I don't really know where I want to move this. I actually don't want to move this right now, and I'll have to carefully set it back down right where I picked it up from, because I don't want to move it by accident, thereby wasting a turn. Um, so
Could do the other thing. You could just throw the piece off the board and then it'll map right back. I
yeah,
discovered that last time we played. So
yeah,
it's just like instead of trying to put it exactly where you were, because I did that once is the most recent time we played. I went to put it back and then I accidentally moved like 3 spaces or something. I'm like, dang it, I just wasted a move. So afterwards, I'm like, all right, well, I know my character cannot go this far out, so I just literally moved my arm to the side of the screen, let go, and it just warps it back to where it was supposed to be. So I'm like, all right, that's how I'm putting away the pieces all the time now.
yeah. That's I didn't know that you could do that, so I'll probably start doing that from now on too. But yeah, like I think this game is pretty well balanced. Um, it makes you feel pretty powerful, but you also get your ass kicked hard sometimes, and you have to go like, okay, like what did I do? What can I do differently? And it's got a good full cast of characters to play. Um, Weirdly enough, it doesn't have a healer. I think they probably chose, if I had to guess, I think they probably chose specifically not to have a healer because of the way the game is balanced. I think a healer would have to be too underpowered to be fun in order to keep the game from getting like unbalanced, too easily. So that's kind of why I'm guessing that they didn't have a specific like healer. But then again, who
Yeah.
knows?
So
Maybe there's some other reason.
well, for the actions in the game, you have to your actions are all card based.
Right.
You know, with the exception of the movement, and then doing a melee attack. So you would place your piece on top of an enemy piece, and then you would do a melee attack that way. But then the cards, everyone has at least one or two cards that will recycle every turn, so
Yeah.
it'll respawn or untap or whatever you want to call, nomenclature you want to use. But then the other cards are all expendable, and you generally have like a healing potion card, and then a couple different types of attacks you can do depending on your character. I primarily use the ranger. So I have two cards that are always in my hand, and that's just to do a ranged arrow attack, because I'm a ranger, so it makes sense. And so if I don't move my character at all, I can just pick two different targets, use my cards, and then the next hand I'll have those available to me again. And what they do is, as you explore the dungeon, you can find treasure chests, which will then give you more cards in your hand. Or you can also, after doing so much damage, it's kind of like an EXP meter of sorts. You gain enough points to then earn a new card in your hand, and that goes for everyone in your team. So whenever we open up a treasure chest, everyone gets a card, all the players.
Yeah.
And in this case, we're playing. We've played both campaign with both of us playing a single person, or we've also had it set up so we've played 2 different characters each to get some more variety and some gameplay style. So it kind of makes it nice that way. At the end of each floor, because you're going through a dungeon, there's a shopkeeper, and depending on how much currency you found, you can spend that gold on buying new cards. And there is a max hand limit, usually 10 or 11, depending on the type of character you have.
Yeah.
And so when you're buying new cards, you go into the next floor with the same status you had previously, meaning that if you were like half health, you would come into the next floor half health.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware of that because we didn't know that. We kind of forgot that the first couple times we made progressed. Uh,
I assumed that we would just go back to full health at the new level, but yeah, it's persistent.
but also at the same time, if you enter a new floor with a buff or a boon or something like that, you can carry that along. If you have little AI henchmen or minions with you, some certain characters can have that. They will carry on with you to the next floor. So it's nice because your party is progressing accordingly. So it makes sense in that campaign setting because you're not just resetting each time. Uh, the first campaign we did, which was they have, I think currently they have like 5 books as they call them. They're essentially different campaigns, and the first one is the easiest. It's a 1 out of 3 difficulty. We managed on our first try to finish that one, and just barely, but it was very. I felt like it was really well balanced in that sense. Um, they automatically make the second book number 2 that campaign be the only three skull difficulty
That's an odd choice
in
for
the
the
entire
very
thing.
second campaign to be
Yeah,
max difficulty, but okay. Yeah.
yeah. And so like our first time we played that, we went ahead and made it to the final boss, only to just completely get curb stomped is the best way to put it. Like we
Yeah.
were overwhelmed very fast, and we were having so like that's been where we've kind of been stuck at. Like upon failing that one, we then have to essentially you're re-rolling your characters.
Yeah.
um the game has a overall XP meter for you to unlock new things for the game, like skins for certain characters, new dice, things like that. So it kind of rewards the replayability, and also because the maps change up, it's not like even with the same campaign, you can at least experience a different layout and a different challenge. We didn't do a lot of research into it, even while after playing for a couple times. Like we didn't look into it until just recently, where it's like, hey, can you clear a floor completely?
Mm-hmm.
Because we came pretty close, but we just didn't bother exploring every nook and cranny. But we felt like we were defeating enough enemies to the point where, like, well, maybe you can completely wipe out all the enemies and then have free reign to explore and grab all the loot, both treasure chests and money off the floor. But then upon research, is like, nope, the game will respawn character enemies into the map, just to constantly have more to do. So like, all right, so it doesn't necessarily uh, like reward you for doing a full level clear. And in some ways, especially during the first campaign we played, we discovered that okay, whoever kills the floor boss, as it were, like who has they have a key,
Mm-hmm.
that character is the only one who can actually make it open the exit, which makes sense, But at the same time, it's just like, all right, you have to be aware and you have to be exploring for the exit, and whoever does that finishing blow needs to be the one to get to the door first. But when they do get to the door, everyone evacuates at the same time. So it's okay to leave someone behind, as it were, to tank and to block some enemies if need be, or to do some last minute loot exploring.
As long as
And
somebody is gonna get to that door, yeah.
yeah, so that's we've kind of utilized that to our advantage. And it's yeah, like I said, it's been, I find it to be pretty fun, but at the same time, it is more targeted towards being aggressive, or at least assertive. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really hold up too well if you play a turtling style gameplay where like I'm gonna hold up here and fortify myself because of the fact that the enemies keep on coming at you, and most of the bosses, or at least the heavy enemies, when you get them to about half health, then they go into a berserk mode. Uh, and for campaign number 2, there's the Rat King essentially is your big bad guy at the end, and that person has movement like nobody's business. Like we were doing pretty well, but then when they went berserk, they left the room, went through 2 other rooms, and like looped around, and then killed my bard at the backside of the formation.
Yeah.
And then they escaped, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me! That they had forever movement. Um, it was pretty brutal. So yeah, at that point, we're like, all right, I don't think we can make it, and we didn't. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, we've been having a hard time on that one, and I'm like, we could move on to the next one, but we are also very stubborn, and we're like, no, we're gonna, maybe next game we'll go to book 3 and then skip book 2 and come back to that one later. But I'm not sure. Like knowing us, we're probably just gonna bang our head in this one until we're like, okay, that's it, we're done with this game, and just forget about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's at least worth like one more try to do it before either moving on, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty it's a pretty good game. It's a pretty good idea for a game. It's nice in VR. I think that the RNG is a little bit too RNG. It's pretty. It seems like it's pretty flatly random. So I don't know. There's just a lot of times where I've felt like I am playing the game right. I'm playing the game as best as I possibly could, and I get screwed over. And then there's times where I feel like the game, it balances out in some ways where where the enemies screw up, and then I have like a big like advantage off of that. So it's I feel like there's probably either something I'm not understanding completely, or the RNG could be a little bit less just a little bit less random, might make it feel like I'm doing something more. Because in some of those times when something bad happens or something too good happens, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm playing this game or if it's playing me. Um, but overall, that feeling doesn't happen too much, and I think it's actually like really good most of the time. The most interesting thing about this game, beyond just the general gameplay and stuff, is the kind of the potential for something like this with Dungeons and Dragons. So I have a regular D&D game that I play with some friends, and I brought this up to them, and I told them about it, and I think it was a little bit. I don't know if they really kind of gathered the potential that I was talking about, because they hadn't played it, but playing this game, the first thing that I thought was, man, like you could really probably adapt this into something that would actually run a pretty natural feeling D&D game. At least that was my first thought. And then after playing it for a while and stuff like that, I kind of thought more about how hard it would be to make a D&D game with a game like this. It's like the setup is there, the format is there, but this game is a lot simpler than a true blue Dungeons and Dragons game would be, and it's still there's still a lot of things that they're done well for this game, but they would have to be done a lot better. There just have to be a lot more. You'd almost need like finger gloves, honestly, with like haptic feedback and stuff to be able to properly run a D&D game that felt good and that like worked well. And then there'd also have to be just a ton more, content that would have to be like rolled out. And also, this game is only one aspect of D&D. There's many other like non-battle aspects that would have to be thought of. But like all that being said, just kind of seeing a flash of like possibility there was interesting to me, being a D&D player.
Well, they are. Demeo is coming out officially with a Demeo Cross Dungeons and Dragons battle marked, and that was officially announced last month.
Okay.
So there is a an official collaboration going on. To what extent or how they're going to do it exactly, I'm not 100% sure. So it was just like the announcement trailer last month, and meaning they'll probably have the appropriate classes, skills, and this game does very good things when it comes to like line of sight. So you'll walk into a room, and
Mm,
like you'll see you only see half the room, and then you round a corner like a pillar, and then all of a sudden there's like three guys just chilling there, and you're like, ah, dang it. You know,
yeah.
it kind of has that fun surprise. It has, well, when you roll for your attacks, essentially it's not necessarily the D20 system, so they might actually incorporate that if they're doing the appropriate Dungeons and Dragons modification. But this is just a more or less a critical, an attack, and a miss. It's not necessarily a critical fail because it just means that you didn't succeed, like you're not going to succeed in what you originally hoped for.
Yeah.
And depending on your situation, you may still do it. You may still actually hit the target. But it's kind of this is where the random comes in too. So if there's like two enemies in front of me, and I go to attack the one directly in front of me, not the one to the left, I could my character could miss the person in front of me, but hit the one to the left, and I could actually still kill it or do it damage. I'm like, hey, it wasn't a complete whiff, but at the same time, if you're standing right behind me, my character might get turned around and then shoot you in the arrow with in the face with an arrow, and so I might do you damage. So it's essentially if you if you fail your attack roll, you can still there's still some chance of doing something. And the I you can't do self harm, so you can't like shoot yourself in the foot or something like that. Or at least I haven't seen that type of action. It's either you miss or you hit, and you might hit something else
Yeah.
that wasn't your intended target. But the crits are there. I usually get my crits when I'm aiming at an inanimate object, like a flame pot or something like that, or a gas canister or something. And or like if it's an enemy that I don't need to crit to kill, and they're like, "Congratulations, you critted, so you super killed this enemy." I'm like, "All right, yep,
Those
sure
always
thing."
come on like enemies that you were probably gonna kill anyway. But
Yeah,
it feels like, I mean, not really, but
I do a base damage of 3. It has 2 health, and I just critted it for 6. I'm like, "Thank you. That was unnecessary." But yeah,
yeah.
anyways, it's a fun game. I think it's like I'd probably say like a solid like B, like like 80 or something like that is kind of what I feel.
Mm,
It's not perfect, but there's a lot of fun to be had. I think it's more enjoyable when you're playing with someone in this case, because you can kind of like riff off of each other or try to you strategize as well and being like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this. Here's my goal my next turn, or like, hey, you're downed. I'm gonna go ahead and heal you. I'm gonna it's like you can kind of work your way through that, and I think table talking is kind of half the fun of D&D is being able to try to strategize and plan. Uh, this game, like I said, it may be it's a little bit maybe a little bit more on the difficult side, at least for now. Maybe once we get off of campaign number 2, we'll find out the rest of it's a breeze. Or maybe we just need to scale back from four playing characters to 2 playing characters and see how that goes.
there's
So
many
no,
options.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but once again, it's uh for what you get for like generally this game goes on sale quite a bit, and I was happy I picked it up on sale. I forget for how much I picked it up exactly, but I thought it was a fair price. I it goes for I know it's on Steam, and I think it go like but Steam has multiple bundles and stuff like that too, because I think it comes with the battles one, which is like the PvP as well. So I think the base game is like $40 on Steam, and we picked this up of course on PlayStation. But yeah, I if you like D&D or if you like tabletop gaming, I kind of recommend giving this one a shot. If you want the PvP aspect, then you might want to check out the battles version of this. And that one probably has way more replayability because you're always playing against like other people. But once again, I just wanted the campaign. I like the idea of playing cooperatively and not so much head to head. So that's why I thought this one was more our speed.
Hmm.
And because it's a tabletop kind of game, you don't necessarily have to worry about the VR sickness too much. They give you a lot of options to easily maneuver and zoom in on the screen. You can even set it up so you can tilt the board, so you don't have to necessarily be looking forward and looking down.
Yeah.
You can actually just tilt it so it's more, like kind of like if you're holding a book in front of you, you kind of angle it that way.
Yeah,
So
and that is probably one of the most clutch things is being able to do that because when you have a VR headset on, your head weighs a lot more. So anything that affects the balance of your head is going to start to hurt your neck a lot more, a lot faster. So I found that tilting of the board to be really, really great for being able to play it for a long time.
all right, and I think that's about it for this one. We'll maybe touch back base when later on once we get a like full you know um full gameplay. At least when we compete, maybe we'll celebrate when we compete. If we can beat this Rat King, because once again, it's supposed to be the most difficult one. So it's
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
the
So
nice thing is it does let you save at any given point, so you can save mid campaign, mid floor. We generally have been saving like at the end of each floor. Uh, but you can save pretty much whenever you want, which is nice.
we should probably save before the. If we feel like we're in a good spot, we should probably save before the Rat King fight, just so that we can just jump back in there and
Save scum.
try again and get curb stomped again real quick. Um, if we think we're in a good spot, but it's fine either way.
All right then. Well, let's go to what we've been watching or other entertainment. So, what do you got for us?
So yeah, my eyeballs have been on a book that came out late last year, in December of 24, called The Nvidia Way, by Tae Kim. Um, it's a book about Nvidia. It's and it is mostly about NVIDIA's history from basically their start, uh, early troubles, early successes, and then kind of their rise to prominence and stuff like that. So I should say too that I do own stock in NVIDIA, not a ton, but I do own some. So this conversation is almost certainly going to get into some of their more recent actions, which many people, myself included, find unfavorable. So anyway, just take everything that I say with a grain of salt because of that. But anymore, so anyway, about this book. In general, the book is a fine read, and it has quite a few good things about it. A good, interesting, like, oh, that's a cool story, or like, oh, okay, so that's how they did that, or whatever. There's also some pretty good business advice, I would say, or like advice on success or like leadership and stuff. So those things were pretty good. I did get the sense pretty early on that this book, don't want to use the word propaganda or puff piece, but it's definitely soft on Nvidia. Um, but I think that this writer probably was allowed to write, and allowed to get these interviews and allowed to get this much access because they were um, expected to maybe not be super critical, and just kind of be more matter of fact, about some of the more prominent things, So kind of reading it, I was like, yeah, I feel like there's might be some more dirt here than is being covered in the book, which I think is probably fairly obvious. But all in all, it was a pretty decent read, and I could recommend it. I would say for anybody interested in Nvidia in general, especially anybody interested in investing in them. I think that this is something that you could read and take with a grain of salt, but but it would at least give you an idea of sort of the mindset there. One thing that I did notice, and it's pretty soft on this, is um, at Nvidia, they have no problem whatsoever with crunch. Like the stories that come out or that are in this book are like other people in the tech industry leaving their offices late at night and seeing like the parking lot at Nvidia like still like jam packed and like totally full. Um, and then like commenting like, oh, they must be having like a product launch here soon, or they must be having a late night meeting, and then that person like going over to Nvidia later and being like, no, that's just like a regular day. Like they're just constantly crunching. So yeah, but I mean, um, they have gotten, you know, they have risen to prominence, um, especially more recently. I think due to that like work ethic, kind of insane work ethic, that they seem to do. It's a company that I am happy to invest in so far. It is a company that I would definitely never, ever, ever, ever want to work for, because working there would be. They expect a lot. They expect a lot of you. There's one story in there about a guy who was already making a substantial amount of money somewhere else, came to Nvidia, and he was a little bit surprised by like a late night, well, maybe not that late, but a Christmas Eve video call that he had to be on because some of the recent numbers were not coming back the way they wanted them to, and so they had to figure out how to make that get better. So he was a little bit surprised by that. So yeah, um, but yeah, and then like finally, the book starts out, well, you know, with like video games and graphics in those terms and stuff like that, and then it eventually goes into like AI, and it it seems to me, it seems pretty clear to me that Nvidia, you know, they're not really worried about video games anymore. They don't really need to be. Um, in some sense, everything is a video game now. Everything is dependent on graphics. Everything is dependent on GPUs. Um, and so, like, their main business it seems like it's going to turn into AI infrastructure, servers, kind of capital B big capital B big business, going forward, and they're just not really as concerned anymore with like games and video games, and it's kind of sad to say. I don't know if that was ever the plan or if it was always the plan. If it was, I get the sense that like video games were sort of just like they liked them when they were young. They saw an opportunity to make a lot of money and to do well at that. And then it just kind of ballooned into something bigger than they ever thought that like it would. And now it just seems kind of clear that they're like, yeah, you know, we're gonna make stuff that will work with video games, but really our goal is to just make better and better graphics tech and and sell it to the highest bidder. But yeah,
Yeah,
anyway.
they're currently, yeah, the consensus is they kind of stopped caring about the gamers who made them, the company that they are, but they are now shifting into the full AI business model. AI is their future for sure, and gaming is just something that they do on the side. And they from the amount of the new launches they've done, the quality of the launches and stuff like that, you can tell that gaming is not their forefront of their business model anymore. And especially with the more recent, I wouldn't necessarily call them scandals, but the the media where if you look up, you know, you can see that they've been kind of some people have been saying threatening, but they've been trying to control the narrative about how influencers are reviewing their their models, and they've pretty much been trying to control slash blacklist people who don't say the things that they want to say in the way that they want to say it, and therefore they're like, well, we won't give you the GPUs anymore. We'll only give it to the people who will tout our narrative, which is pretty shady. But also they can afford to pretty much screw over everyone because they're in such a high seat of power that they're like, it doesn't matter. People are still going to buy from us anyways. Um, because currently a lot of their frame generation tech and the DLSS stuff is still top notch. Um, and they've proven that if they provide GPUs at exorbitant prices, people are still willing to pay them because it's like the luxury tax. Like, yes, there's still people who are going to want the biggest and best fastest thing under the sun, and they will pay what they need to pay to get that because of bragging rights, essentially. But they've unfortunately like done a narrative shift of being like the this darling company that gamers love, and they support the like a reciprocal like relationship to one of being just very selfish and very self-centered. So unfortunately, my love for them has fallen drastically behind from multiple game GPU launches ago, and the way their pricing models and the way their price to performance is. I'm running a 3080 still in my system, but that was also bought like just like probably the last time they did a fair GPU launch was the 3080. But due to the pandemic, it was like that's when they learned,
Yeah.
wait, we can sell this at scalper prices and get away with it. And they've proven that. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses have realized that too. From Sony charging way too much for their PS5 Pro, Nintendo for the Switch 2, and also what they're selling games for now. So they realize like, hey, we can charge pretty much what we want, and gamers are just going to deal with it. They will gripe as they give us the money, but they're still going to give us the money. So
Yeah, I mean, like
you know,
the Twitch, the Twitch world is like anytime you see even a halfway decently sized or even not so decently sized channel on Twitch, they have just maxed out settings and like twin Titan GPUs, Nvidia Titan GPUs in their system and stuff like that. It's like there's no game, there's no monitor or TV that, but yeah, it kind of becomes like a flex or like keeping up with the Joneses type of thing. Yeah, the way that
they
the
don't do the
book.
twin models anymore. Just letting you know, they don't. You can't run them SLI. That's
Oh,
been dead
okay.
for a while.
See,
Um,
okay, I'm still, I guess I'm behind the times in that way. Um, uh, I guess you can't run them. You can't run twin unless you try really hard, maybe. Because I know you can string them together, but it becomes kind of a different thing at that point. Um, this book though does kind of, I mean, like Jensen Huang is in the subtitle of this book, something like how Jensen Huang, blah 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 blah, or whatever. And the book is centered around him. It does talk a lot about the founders and what they were able to do and how they helped and stuff like that. But it does uh, keep Jensen as the centerpiece. So much so that like he's like 62 right now. He probably won't retire anytime really soon. Like, I wouldn't think in the next 2 or 3 years. But the way that he has run this company um, makes me nervous about what will happen after he does retire eventually. Um, I think that the company will probably do fine after he retires, but like the way that he runs things is kind of insane. I know you're always hearing crazy things about CEOs and what they do, like the crazy hours they work and like the crazy standards that they have, but Jensen makes me think that like he's on a different level even in those terms, even compared to other CEOs. Um, so like from an investor standpoint, I am kind of like, you know, they're doing well and stuff like that, but like once Jensen retires, I personally I have to look really long and hard and see who they get to replace him, because it will be like, you know, are you replacing him with like a business guy? Is this going to be like, oh, just kind of keep things status quo, and then that's kind of the beginning of the end? As far as like the controversies and stuff, because there have been a substantial number of controversies recently. The past couple launches have been during strange times, um, during COVID, and then the 50 series launch, um, being right before Trump essentially took office, or right as he was taking office, and all the tariffs and stuff coming in, which seemed to me to be why they decided to like do the paper launch and jump out there so they could say, hey, you know, here we are. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see how it goes going forward. I'm very interested to see where they go with the 60 series launch. But yeah, AMD has been making strides, at least in terms of value. I think AMD has been the value card for what, a decade, maybe, you know, longer than that. It's been like, you know, if you really want the best money for value, AMD has been the way to go.
Yes, especially well, most recently they gave up the high end, which is unfortunate because by giving up the high end, it lets Jensen just run amok and
Yeah.
with no opposition. But just food for thought. Also, Lisa Su, CEO of AMD, is also just cousins with Jensen Wong. So just yeah, out throwing that out there.
Are they actually
Um,
cousins?
yeah, they're actually cousins. At least
No way.
unless if I'm incorrect, but I'm pretty positive they're supposed to be cousins.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it's you know, certain families get to run everything, right? So there
Interesting.
you go. There's your deep state for you. Overseas, running all of our computers. I mean, like if you want to support the little guy, then then Intel's making that push, and they've been getting better and better as time goes on. But this is they're only like two generations in, but they are very much the low to mid end, um, focusing on the low end, the entry level, and it's more of a please don't give up, Intel. you know like just keep on
Well,
at it. We hope you do more. AMD is very much content at being the mid-level, king, as it were. Their Some of their tech isn't as good as Nvidia's, but they're still really solid, especially if I said price per performance. But that is at the same time, like if you want a lot of the Nvidia features, if you're using Nvidia Broadcast, if you want all uh the DLSS features, frame gen and stuff like that, then you know those are Nvidia does do those better, and AMD just doesn't quite live up to that yet.
yeah.
So it feels like whenever you're with AMD, it feels like you're working on the last iteration of DLSS. They do the last iteration really well, but they just can't keep up to the current one of and that's where Nvidia really pulls ahead, is because they can afford the R&D to make the new things to pave the way. And I mean, they just recently announced that they were killing all support for uh, the 708 9 or 7910, up to the 1000, the 1000 series cards, which some people were really surprised, but were like, well, it makes sense because the 20 series cards or whatever, those were the first ones with RT in them.
Hmm.
So at some point, you have to cut the line, and like that just means if they're still going to work, they're just not going to do any more patches for them, and that's that was just announced not that long ago, like the last week or two. So yeah, it's you know they do come up with a lot of nice features. I probably won't get a new graphics card until the next round of graphics cards because I can still play everything at my monitors are only 1440p.
Mhm.
So, that at that point when the next gen comes out, like the 4K monitors, you know, they will only get better, and it'll be more in the right price range for myself. But once again, for the 5090 to be like 2 grand MSRP, like, but in reality, it's above that easily. So
Oh, when you
it's
actually go to buy it from somebody that's like, it's higher. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It competition is good, and it is getting to the point where Nvidia, and the book kind of lays it out like they have a stranglehold on a lot of aspects of the industry, which is why their stock just kind of keeps going up and up and up and up. Um, like one thing that the book spends a lot of time on is uh, CUDA. I think that's what it's called. But basically, it's this like basically like the whole research community um, uses NVIDIA because their main like their everything that they run is based on NVIDIA hardware. So they're kind of like locked in and kind of have that as a moat for their business. And it is getting to be like it's getting to be like Microsoft in the 90s in some ways. It's not quite there yet, but but like whereas like Google is search engines and Microsoft is business computers and business software. Nvidia is emerging as the kind of the king of the graphics and AI space, and I mean, yeah, like now is the time for AMD and Intel to do something about it because there's not if it keeps going the way that it's going, there's not going to be a lot of room for anybody to compete very well. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to other things that we've been watching. So I'll do some more updates for anime. New anime seasons out, a ton of stuff to talk about. I'm gonna quick touch on a handful of things. Like I did last week. Just there's just way too many things out there. So let's see. I'm gonna start this off with the Water Magician. All right, the Water Magician. It's a Uh, it's an isekai anime. Dude gets truck cooned or something. You just see the headlights come to the guy, so you're assuming it's truck coon. It could be SUV coon or something. I don't know. But anyways, he's given the chance to reincarnate, and he wants to live the slow life, because AKA just be a bum. But it sounds so much better when you say slow life. And he's put into a fantasy world with magic, and his attribute is water, hence the name, the Water Magician. And he essentially has a safe zone around his house, so he's not insta killed. And he's just practicing his own magic in his own way. He has no real teacher, but he's using his mindset from, and he knows chemistry and stuff like that. So he's thinking to himself, if he can cast water, he can then make ice, and he's trying thinking about the molecules and stuff, or he can make hot water, similarly, so he's practicing himself, and then he uh, meets a new adventure friend, and essentially goes to see what the real world is like, or then the new world is like. uh it's your standard fantasy fare. uh it's okay. I mean, there's 3 episodes out now, subbed, one dubbed, and the dubbing is pretty good. The sub work is pretty solid too. I would say, it's if you like this kind of thing, if this, like if you just need your new isekai fix, this is a fair watch. It doesn't scream anything like really new or great, but it's not bad. All right, then there's new saga, and if I'm remembering correctly, this one was a your standard fantasy fare where, like, this one kind of didn't really do much for me. I only watched the first episode in, dubbed, but this was one of those anime where the main character is uh, su- he's you're meant to take it super serious. Like he's in a
Mm.
fantasy world and the things are going bad and he's just going to try really super hard to be really strong and he's just it's very much one of those series. It's not uh there's not nothing wrong with it, but once again it's a lot of try hard, I guess. Uh it doesn't make me feel like I really want to care about it, but you're supposed to care. You're supposed to be like, yeah, this is it.
You can
So
tell it
I don't
wants
know.
you to care. It's just not maybe doing the best job making you care.
I'm only episode one in, so I can't. So it's hard to do it enough justice. But yes, it's meant to be like an epic thing.
Okay.
So it's just you know, heads up on that. So potential. It has a lot of potential that if you're looking for a grand story, then there you go. Let's see. The next one is Omyo Katen Rebirth verse. So this one is it's kind of weird.
But
So there's only one episode.
it's like re colon birth verse. So it's like regarding birth verse. Okay, sorry.
They love to use the re and everything.
I know. Why
So
is that?
yeah,
It doesn't
uh,
matter. Go ahead.
it's a cultural. Yeah, it's just like how they say cross when they mean verses or collaboration. So, but they use the X for everything. So it's a cultural thing. In this case, it's a I guess the best way is he looks like a Yankee punk. So the concept is he's supposed to be a tough guy. He's supposed to
Mm.
be able to do street fights, and he's a brawler. And he has a dream in which he meets he's on the run from some monster, and he runs into a woman, and they have a flirtatious moment, and she says, she asks, well, like, will he be there to protect him, or he'll be there to protect her, and he's like, yes, and then that turns out to just be his fantasy. It's a dream that he has continuously. So the girl of his dreams is literally in his dreams as someone's one of the other street punks says that they're as they tie him to a pole and they're trying to beat him.
Mm.
Yes, and then through through happenstance, he happens to fall off a cliff and is isekai'd. You don't really understand what the situation is. He just wakes up and he's teleported. So either it's the afterlife, um, but it's supposed to be uh, like a futuristic historical setting. So the
Okay.
yes, so it's everything is supposed to be like old school Japan. If you've ever seen anything with the Omyo, like the Omyoji mystics, they were kind of the people who did a lot of the work for setting up old Kyoto as the capital. They were the ones who were like the astrologers and did a lot of fortune telling or like predictive stuff based on the stars. Um, and in a lot of the high fantasy or their fantasy, it's essentially they're the ones who combat demons and yokai, that kind of stuff, or they can control shikigami. So it's a lot of these old settings, but it's also so old buildings, but then they have signs that are popped up as like 3D holograms. They have like tablet like devices, but everyone's dressed more traditional sense. So it's a weird hybrid of a future setting, but in historical Japan. So it's kind of hard to tell where you are. You don't, it's like, I think they throw out a year at one point, which is supposed to be like it sounded like it was far flowing in the future. But once again, if you're talking about old Japanese calendar dates, it could just be an old um, like Heian year or something like that. It's an old time calendar. So I'm not really 100% sure. Anyways, yeah, this is just your average shonen fare where it's just like he's like I'm the strongest and I'm gonna fight everything because I have the guts for it. Essentially. Um, it's kind of neat though because as he's in this era, uh, they have like it reminds me of the old TV show Reboot, of all
Mm.
things. The
Okay.
old CG, super blocky, show, where in this case, the city is also under attack, and they cordon off a certain area of the city, and then it's infest. In this case, it's infested with like a black smog. Every person in there is turned into a crystal, like they're crystallized, and there is a rampaging monster, an oni or something, and then they use two Omiojis use a Shikigami, but it's a giant. In this case, it looks like a giant mech or something like that to fight off said, 2-story, 3-story Oni. And when the enemy is cleared, the area is lifted, and anyone who's not been crushed, is decrystallized, and they go back on living their life, and then they repair the buildings. That's pretty much all you got at this point, and because the main girl, the guy meets his girl of his dreams. She has no clue who he is, and she's in trouble at one point, so he just runs right into the battlefield. And he, for some magical reason, does not get crystallized. He gets to stay in his normal human form. Um, but then here he is trying to fight a giant monster, uh, pretty much unarmed,
Mm.
but with the power of guts. So I don't know. I kind of hate this main character. The story is kind of neat, but I just dislike this kind of person. So he's like the dumb blind faith kind of, like, I'm gonna run in, and just because it's like, I think it's gonna work out, so it's gonna work out. I'm like, I hope you end in a bad way. Uh, like, I want someone else to take over as the main character is what I want, and then continue the story. But yeah, so I'm not really too keen on this one. But it's only episode 1 in English, 3 episodes out and subbed so far. Uh, I might continue watching this just to see what happens, but I'm not too keen on it. The animation quality is interesting enough, and like I said, the world set, the whole futuristic historical setting kind of intrigues me, but yeah, it's really hard to get past that main character. All right, we got Sakamoto Days Part 2. So if you like the Sakamoto Days, you get more of it. And yeah, that's really it. I mean, there's not much else to say. So for those who don't know what Sakamoto Days is, it's very much a like a standard shonen. Like, I'm not sure who actually produces this, but it's like a Shonen Jump fodder where it's like
Shonen
uh,
Jump is where it is the where the manga comes out. Yeah.
which makes perfect sense because it's right up their alley. It's, you have, at first it's like, the you think it's a real grounded setting, and then everything gets comically over the top. But there's an assassin who quits, number one assassin quits his job to settle down to make a family, and now the organization wants him out, because he's just a liability. You just don't leave the organization, kind of deal. And he makes friends along the way. His family happens to run a convenience store, and everyone ends up working at the convenience store, while defending the area from incoming attacks. Yeah, so this is just continuing that story. Some of the sidekicks are getting level ups. Essentially, their abilities are increasing, and that's really all I'm going to say about that. I mean, I still find it entertaining, though it is ridiculous, but that's part of the charm in this case. It's either you love it or hate it. Um, the last one I'll talk about is Clevitus. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but this one I think it's being simulcasted, so it's like 3 episodes out now, both subbed and dubbed. Um, this one's kind of interesting because I think I might have mentioned this with episode 1, but it was interesting because it's straight up a fantasy setting. Um, Essentially, the humanity, or the the normal races. You got your standard, like, dwarf, fair, and humanoid people. They are uh, they have not left their area of the world, the map. So, like, the map is only so big, and everything else surrounding them is shrouded in darkness. And there are uh, super beasts, essentially, magical beasts that are control different points. Um, this one race decides to send a handful of heroes, like 13 heroes with specialized weapons, to go and fight Clevitus, this shadow wolf kind of deity creature.
Mm.
Uh, they get thoroughly trashed. And this is, as a quick revenge. He's like, okay, you were sent by this group, so I'm gonna go ahead and just level the kingdom. And they just literally waltzes into the castle area, crushes the castle, and then upon leaving, happens to see a woman with a dying woman with a child, and she's like, please take care of this kid. um, It'll prove enlightening or something like that, and it sparks enough curiosity out of this demon beast to be like, all right, I'll take this kid, not knowing at all how to take care of a child, and then proceeds to resurrect one of the fallen heroes and be like, hey, you're a woman, help raise this kid.
Mm,
And
okay.
and yeah, it's a silly premise, just, and it's like, oh yeah, it's just on the whims and the fancy of this beast. The concept is, of course, is going to be like, well, uh will it learn to love through nurturing or something like that, is is probably going to be the core crux of it. But currently it's just like everything is just new and taking things that like at its own stride. It has a lot of action. It's most definitely different, and I'm like I said, I still find this one interesting. It's one of the more highlights, I guess, out of the fantasy genre that you haven't seen in a while.
Mm,
uh the resurrected hero, she has his, since she's embedded with the power of this beast, she can go ahead and like she's immortal essentially until he decides to let her die. But and he takes a human form, and when he's in human form, he's susceptible to concussions essentially, so he
mm,
can get knocked out.
okay.
uh so yeah, there's and once again, I'm more curious about the world itself as well, because there seems to be a lot of thought into it, at least that's the way they perceive it. And uh we'll see how it goes. But so far, it is one of the more interesting fantasy genres. I find this one more interesting than New Saga right now, but because once again, New Saga just is comes at you very intense, being like, "This is the tough battle, and this is how it's going to be," and it feels like something like the Wheel of Time or something like that, where it's just like you need to be. You need to take this seriously because we're telling you to take this seriously because it's a serious matter. And I'm like, yeah,
You don't just
you
tell
can't
me, you
tell
got
me
to
to
show
be
me.
invested. Yeah, exactly. So, but anyways, that's the quick corner for anime this time around. There's still so much more. Call of the Night, season 2 and stuff like that.
Mm.
That like episode 3 just dropped, so I'll talk more about that stuff next time. I haven't had a chance to watch the third episode, so yeah, there'll be plenty more to talk about next week.
It's a new season of
So what do you
anime.
got? Yeah, no joke, right? I think this season's going to be pretty solid though overall. I feel like it's going to be better than the one we just finished up. So, but what do you got for us for the news?
News and lots of little newsy newses. First up, Roblox has some new security features. One of them, most notably, is that it will have an AI that will judge your age based on a video selfie of you. So I don't know exactly how it'll work, but it seems like you'll be taking a video selfie, and it will judge your age and then put you in the right section, because they've had some security issues at Roblox in the past. So anyway, they're trying to improve on that, and that's one of the ways that they're trying to do it. Having an AI, I don't know, having AI is not really the problem there, but having it take a video selfie of you seems like it might be a problem down the road with privacy.
Especially for minors, yeah, for sure. That sounds like a terrible thing. We want a bunch of
Minors.
video about a bunch of the children who play our thing. Um, I mean, they've already gotten a lot of guff from people being like, "Yeah, well, you're making kids make your content for you," in the guise of like creativity. But then, yeah, it's
There's
anyway.
that aspect of it. Yeah, and I'm kind of like, it's like, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. They haven't said this, but they'll probably say, but we'll erase the video or whatever. It's like just a selfie or whatever, and we're gonna erase it anyway. And it's like, yeah, but nothing ever really gets erased on the internet, um, unless it's a game that somebody wants to remake, and then it's definitely erased. Um, but yeah, like it seems like I read this and I was like, well, good for them, but also I can just see this going sideways in like 3 to 5 years, where it's like, you remember that thing that we did that's supposed to be a security feature was actually a bad thing. But only time will tell. Just something I saw that I thought was interesting. Next up, Assassin's Creed live action Netflix show is finally moving forward. It's been in kind of development hell for a while, and they're saying it's finally moving forward. It's going to have a lot of sex and violence in it. So that's one of the show makers or whatever did an interview recently where he was talking about how it's going to have all kinds of crazy stuff in it. So he wants you to get excited for it.
It's Netflix. It's not gonna. It's not like it's HBO. You can't. You can only get so violent with it. So much explicit content on Netflix. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure it'll
Netflix
be all
Plus.
right, but yeah, it's probably not going to be like HBO level of like gratuitous sex and violence, which I don't necessarily need that. I just need a decent story, but that's also not necessarily Netflix's forte these past couple of years. They have had some good things, don't get me wrong, past couple of years, but definitely not as strong as their earlier stuff, in my humble opinion. Next up, keeping up with, speaking of HBO, HBO is building a real school that fits up to 600 students next to the Hogwarts TV show set that they, Harry Potter TV show set of Hogwarts that they are also having built. So I thought this was kind of interesting because I was like, oh yeah, I guess if you're having a whole show about Harry Potter and about Hogwarts and about all these kids, you're going to have a school because these kids have to go to class by law. So it makes sense to actually have like, well, we're going to have like literally like 40 or 50 kids minimum, on site at any given time. So we may as well actually build a real school to actually accommodate this. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that is sort of weird, but
And then you build the reality show behind it where you have them all filmed at their real school and just have that in their contract. And then you can milk that plus the documentary rights to it. And yes, you just make all the monies. And
yeah.
then these people have no futures, burn themselves out. Yes, it'll be a terrible fire.
Would it be legally problematic for them to also purchase the documentary rights for the scandal that may or may not happen in the future?
For their entire life rights in perpetuity, yeah, just completely, yeah, that's just we'll pay you one lump sum, and whether or not you make it big or not, it doesn't matter. This is how much we're paying you for it. With any luck, you'll be a politician, or you'll be like some big action movie star, or you'll just be a flaming wreck of a person. Either way, it makes us money.
It makes
Yeah.
it makes us money. We own the rights to your likeness in perpetuity throughout this universe and or any other. Yeah. Okay. Moving right along, more movie TV type news. The Zelda live action movie cast, at least the main two characters that we care about, has been announced. Bo Bragasson will play Princess Zelda, and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth will be playing Link. And looking up these people, I can see it. Bo Bragasson definitely looks enough like Zelda to go like, okay, yeah, this is I don't know, she has the right face shape, and so does Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. Has the right face shape, face structure to be like, yeah, okay, based on this video game character and years of this video game character and years of art and stuff like that. It's there. It makes sense.
That age gap is weird, though. I mean,
I didn't really.
Is she like 20 and he's like 16 or something like that?
Yeah. So I just happened to be like, I wonder. He looks kind of young, and she doesn't necessarily look that much older, but he looks kind of young. And so I looked it up, and she is 21, and he is 16 as of right now. So, um, yeah. Um, so I don't know. I guess there's probably not going to be very much in terms of like romantic scenes in.
I mean, Link's not that romantic, anyways, in any of these things. I mean, the only thing he does is scream, and I hope he does that. I don't want the live action to just be a bunch of yeah, blah, like the entire time. I don't want him to actually say anything. I just want him to be the mute protagonist that we know he is. Uh,
Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to. And if it's anything like any of the games, then they'll only be on screen together for maybe like what 2%, 3% of the whole movie. So it may not be a problem. Also, this is just a cast announcement. We might have it might be another year or two before they actually even uh, actually do any filming. So who knows? Maybe it'll get stuck in development hell for a little bit longer, and then things will change. Um, so yeah, weird.
zero desire for this. It's zero desire. I'm like, I do not want a live action. Just give me a
I
CG one. I mean, or make it. Oh, better yet, make it like the old Super Mario Brothers Super Show. That version of Link and Zelda, where he's just like, "Excuse me, princess," just completely over the top attitude. Because that was the early '90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ruin it for everyone. So why not?
Yeah, I have no faith in this Zelda live action movie. It's it, you know, it just I think that if it was 10 years ago and we were at this stage, I would be very scared. I would be very much like, yeah, this is going to suck. This is going to be really bad. And right now, I just think that it's I just haven't seen anything to really build confidence, like in a big way. I think this cast is fine, but but I think um, that I haven't seen anything that makes me really excited about it. But also, we are living in a time period in which video game adaptations are actually ending up pretty decent. Pretty decent. So,
CG adaptations, but like once again, any of the live action stuff hasn't been that great. I
trying to
mean,
think.
you look. Speaking about Assassin's Creed, Disney could not make that work. The Assassin's Creed movie or the Prince of Persia movie work. I mean,
No, no, no.
uh,
But
I,
that's what I consider like the last decade, like the more recent stuff. Really, mostly, I'm just talking about Fallout. You know, being pretty decent. And then I'm trying to think of another. I know there's another example here that I can't think of right now. But like what else am I trying to think of? Anyway, there's like some of the stuff that has come out more recently has been like, okay, maybe it won't be absolutely terrible, but you know, it just remains to be seen. But anyway, so we have the cast announced. That might change, but so far, so good, I guess.
all right, what do you got
Next up, Ubisoft shareholder, a Ubisoft shareholder spoke up during a shareholder meeting, and there's a video of this, um, and where they are confronting the Ubisoft boss about the most recent woke Assassin's Creed and their problems. First, I kind of lay out some facts about it, but they're kind of like, they're leaning one way on these sort of facts that they bring up, and then they go hard and they basically are like, and so this and this and like, what are you going to do about it? And I read the transcript of what was said, and I went and watched the video, and it's a bit cringy. It's a bit cringy to me. I feel like there probably was a better way for them to talk about this. But on the other hand, like they are a shareholder and they can kind of do whatever they want. They are like actually actively invested in this company. and I think that they have some decent points. I think they, or at least have some decent concerns as to the way that the way that they are seeing these things. Um, but yeah, it's just the article that this came out on, I think, was a Kotaku article, but it might have been a VGC article. I can't remember which one I was reading. I think it was Kotaku, but the article pointed out that like this is like one of the first times where a pretty, I don't know, like kind of like a regular gamer who has been interested in the product has gone and become a shareholder, and then basically taken their, you know, their YouTube comment like to the boss of the company, and made him like kind of answer for it, at least in his, you know, sort of roundabout, you know, like, well, we're doing, you know, we're doing the best we can, and this is how we saw things, and like we're sorry we missed the mark or whatever. That kind of like CEO type speak. So at least for that point, if it were me, I would have done things a lot differently as a shareholder. If I were a shareholder of a Ubisoft stock, I would have done things differently. But it is interesting to finally see somebody in that position kind of do things that way. So kind of weird. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Yep. No, I haven't seen this video, so I have no clue what you're talking about. All right. Next piece of news.
You should definitely go to take a look at it. If you get a chance. Virtuos, studio behind Oblivion, remastered, which was one of 2025's biggest games so far, laying off 300 people. So I guess just not quite good enough for them. So just a little bit more layoff news. There's been quite a bit of that going around recently.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I thought they were rumored to be, doing another remake of some, but apparently that much staff isn't needed or whatnot. So, all right, yeah, it's sad to see. At the same time, depending on the scalability, I mean, it's almost we've become almost desensitized at this point, and it's such a common occurrence, which is a tragedy to say. Like, you know, but hopefully those people with Oblivion under their belt for remastered will at least be able to land on their feet. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
yeah. I'm guessing that they probably it probably was more of a foregone conclusion whether or not Oblivion remastered did well. It was probably like, well, we're gonna try our best, and you know the bosses are like, we're trying to make money, so that they're just gonna go until they can't really go anymore, and this is just what happens. Um, going on, Steam Games disclosing gener- generative AI at 20% for 2025. Um, for the releases that have come out in 2025, this is up 800% from last year. So generative AI in games has been here, but it's kind of a lot. 20% is kind of a lot. I do see a lot more like AI slop, AI type stuff on different platforms. So yeah, something to keep an eye on.
At least they're
Remedy.
making.
Sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
pretty sure at least I don't know. At least Steam makes sure like part of their new agreement is you're supposed to be upfront about it, and that's why we recently discussed someone else getting in trouble for not disclosing that, and I can't remember. Oh,
The
it was the
alters.
alters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one thing is at least you're having to be upfront about it, and I'm okay with Steam making that be the case. But unfortunately, yeah, AI is you know yeah, it's an inevitability. I mean, look at Nvidia. So
Yes, Nvidia will make us all love AI whether we want to or not. Um, Remedy still having problems with FBC Firebreak, um, as we kind of have talked about, but they are promising a big update that's coming in September. So this is kind of more just a reminder for you and I to check back in with it in September and see how much they've changed. I think most of the update, at least from the article I read, seems like most of the update and things that they're working on is that first hour experience. So we may not really be able to speak to very much unless we just completely like nuke our accounts and get new accounts somehow, which I don't even know if we would be able to do that. But yeah, so they're still putting out fires over there at FPC Firebreak.
Notes.
Sorry again. Say again.
You said putting out fires, and I'm like, and post-it notes.
Yeah, yeah. Indeed. I got to clear those. GTA 5 cleared for release in Saudi Arabia. This is 12 years after its initial release, I think, is what I read somewhere. This is partially due, people are saying, or at least a Video Games Chronicle article I was reading was saying, this is partly due to a 21 plus age rating that they have in Saudi Arabia now. The old PEGI ratings, I think, only went up to like 16 or something like that. They are a little bit more strict over there, and so a lot of games have gotten shut down because they wouldn't they didn't believe that 16 was old enough to bar certain people from being able to buy them, so they were just banning them in the country just overall.
Okay. Well, kind of curious what their take is on that, because I mean, it's I feel like anyone who wanted to play the game, there was probably loopholes for them to play it, right? But I mean, once again, I'm not sure how strict the media is over there, so it's yeah, it's a unique case being this late to the game, but also being new. I mean, it's like when we opened the doors to China. Well, like when China started getting a lot of the games coming in, like, was it 15 years ago or whatever. And like Blizzard was like, yeah, Diablo, the new Diablo 3 is coming over or something like that. So, all right, yeah. Once again, did not realize that that there was a PEGI 21 plus rating. So
Well, I
yeah,
think I
all right.
think it's local now. I think PEGI is still like 16 or whatever. I think Saudi Arabia, I think it's kind of internal. I think they were like, okay, we're going to make our own rating system and it's going to be like this. And also, like, some of the old games that that are like targeted for like 16-year-olds and under or whatever, Saudi Arabia like looked at that and they were like, no, this content is not for a 16-year-old. This is for somebody that would be older. But so they would just ban stuff. But now they're going in and having their own rating system, so they can take a game that would be like, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, whatever age rating to them, and then slapping what rating they think needs to be on it. So it's I think that's what's going. I didn't scour too deeply into this because I just kind of thought it was sort of interesting. But yeah, I mean,
I did a quick cursory search, and just the Wikipedia page pulls up a age for their rating system: a 3 and above, a 7, a 12, 16, 18, and then to be classified. Um,
okay.
those are the current one setting. So unless the 21 thing might be just coming up now, or if they're making a new
It's,
handle altogether.
seems like it's pretty
Yeah.
new. It seems like it's pretty new, and I think that GTA 5 is going to get that 21 plus age rating. I mean, this was in the news. This was in like in one of the news articles I pulled today. So I think it is very new. I don't know if whatever you're searching on would have it yet, but yeah.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I just pulled up a quick wiki article just to,
Okay.
because I was curious what how they break it down, and I found it neat that they have a 3 plus rating, a 3 and a 7. So
Yeah, that is a little bit interesting. What can a 3-year-old or what can a 7-year-old see that a 3-year-old can't? Okay, I guess. But that's good. It fits them and what they want to do. So, more power to them, I guess.
all right, what's the last bit of news you got for us?
The last bit of news is just sort of a update slash affirmation of what we thought was kind of going on for Subnautica and the lawsuit. The founders in their lawsuit kind of officially have alleged that Crafton obstructed the 2025 release and fired them in order to avoid the $250 million payout, which I think was, I don't know if it was really explicitly stated. That's what I concluded from what I was seeing, because it's like if they're asking you to come back, or if Crafton is literally saying we asked them to come back and they're refusing to come back, I'm like, well, then that means they're lawyering up and they are going to war with you, because there's not really any other explanation for that. So yeah, just a little bit of update there. I think this will probably get to become sort of old news after a little while, and then it'll probably be a while, few months or maybe even years before we have a final say on how this lawsuit actually turns out.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 says it's probably going to be settled out of court, and then we'll never get to actually find out what the final like outcome was, because that's usually how things are done. If they go to court and then there's a precedence, and then it makes a bigger stink. But if they just quietly settle out of court, then everyone can keep hush hush about it. But yeah, uh, I don't know. I kind of want to know what the nitty gritty of this thing is, so I want them to go to court.
Yeah, yeah, it would. That's always cool. It would not be pleasant for them, but it would be a cooler thing. We might actually get to see more of how all this stuff works. It'll also set a precedent. But I mean, like if Crafton is able to settle out of court, then basically they'll have gotten most of everything that they wanted. What they really don't want is to have to pay $250 million, which is like, what in the world, and like what kind of targets were they having to hit to be able to say that they were going to pay that out? It's just wild. But yeah, there's still some other stuff that I found in the news. So actually quite a bit of news this week, but that's the main stuff that I wanted to point out.
All right, well, sounds good. Well, if you made it to the end, we appreciate it. This has been episode 135. And Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Um, you know, change your passwords often. Have I used that one before?
Probably, but it's still good advice nonetheless.
Change your passwords again since the last time I said it. Yeah.
Because someone out there has your information. All right.
It's Joe. Joe has your information. So change your password.
I mean, the dark web. I mean, my kids need college funds. I need to make money somehow. So,
yeah, dark web Joe. Guys. That's what we call him.
Well, thanks again for this time, and until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.